Okay, buenos días, escuincles. Buenas tardes, depending what time it is. Today we're going to be discussing adjectives and how to change the ending of adjectives to match nouns. All right, so we're going to start up at the top. How about a little blast from the past? Does anybody remember the masculine endings? If you do, write them at the top of your paper. For masculine, it was what? Loser, in. And for femme, we had a handful of femme endings, didn't we? We sure did. For femme, it was the big one was A, and then we had sion, and we had dad, and we had oud, and we had umbre. Vaya. Let's move on. Adjectives do what to match the endings that they modify? What do they do to match the nouns that they modify? They change. We've discussed this before. And then plurals are formed using the same rules we've already learned. Plurals goes on the line. How do we form plurals? Alracia. Who can write it down faster? If it ends with a vowel, what do? You're going to add S. If it ends with a consonant, what do? You add ES. And if it ends with Z, you simply do what? Yes, that's correct. And for those of you who didn't say anything, that's incorrect. You change the Z to C and add ES. All right, let's talk about the rules first of all, okay? Rule number 1 is for adjectives that end with O. Have you ever noticed in your book, for this section, for 3-3, you had a long list of adjectives and they ended this way, O/A? Do you know why? I bet you do. That's because the ending can either be O for masculine or A for a noun that is feminine, right? All right, so adjectives that end in O, here's the rule. You change the O to A to describe feminine nouns. And if you want to make it plural, if it ends in an O or an A, that's a vowel, right? We're going back to this rule. You simply add S. Adjectives, rule number 2. Rule number 2. Adjectives that end with a consonant. Consonant. Adjectives that ends in a consonant, what are you going to do? The ending doesn't change, okay? The ending does not change. So we're going to write doesn't change. It doesn't change to do what? It doesn't change to match in gender. All right, so I want you to stop and think about all these big words that we're saying here. Consonants, that's all the other letters in the alphabet besides the vowels. If it ends in a consonant, it does not change to match gender. How do we normally change gender? O and A, right? That's correct. So we're not going to be doing that if the adjective ends in a consonant. We're not going to do that. So what will we change? It does change, however, to match in quantity or number. Okay, so let's think about that for a second. If I have a consonant like azul, which is the color that I'm using, how does this chart work? Normally we have an M here and an F here for mass, femme, and what do we normally have at the top? Go ahead and write it on your paper if you know. If you don't, copy me. S-P. The S is for singular and the P is for plural, all right? So let's take the adjective azul, which is a color. It's masculine. What do I do to make it feminine? Well, what does the rule say? The ending doesn't change to match gender, so I leave it the same. So what do I do to make it plural? And it's masculine. Well, it does change to match quantity and number. Okay, so what's the rule to making something plural? If it ends in a consonant, back up here, we add what? I'm sorry, not that one. Here. If it ends in a consonant, you add ES. Well, what about if it's feminine and it ends in a consonant? What are you going to do? Do you put an A? No. Why not? I don't know. Latinos just didn't like the way that it sounds if you say azulas. They were like, that sounds weird. Let's just keep it the same. Make it easier for the American kids. I think that's what they were thinking. So there you go. There's your chart. Singular, plural, masculine, feminine. This is what you do to adjectives that end with a consonant. Rule número dos. Now we are moving on to rule número tres, okay? First thing I'm going to do is erase a lot of the junk that I have up here on the board. See if I know how to do that in an easy way. Yes, I do. Woo-hoo-hoo. And then I am going to, well, I guess I should probably erase these things here. You've already written them. Okay. Then I'm going to slide my page on up like this. You guys, we have 4 more minutes. These notes are only going to be 10 minutes long, and stay tuned for my freestyle. All right, so mixed groups. What about mixed groups, Miss MacG? When describing a mixed group of masculine and feminine people, so we're going to write mask and fem. Oh my goodness, what do we do? You're going to use the masculine plural form. We're going to use the mask plural form. Okay? Why is that? Macho always leads in Spanish. So, for example, if there was a classroom full of 100 women and there was one boy in the room and we wanted to describe that group of students, the adjective would be masculine. That is correct. I'm going to give you an example. 100 students in one room. Estudiantes. And you guys look so dapper. You look so nice today with your little red 3 button-down shirts on. So we're going to say that you guys are handsome or pretty. And we're going to use the word guapo. Estudiantes guapos. This is the way that you would change the adjective to match this noun, even though it's a mixed group. So I'm saying boy and girl students are guapos. If there's only one boy in the room, they're still going to be guapos, macho leads. We are running out of time. Let's get it done. Nationality. Nationality have some exceptions, okay? Adjectives of nationality that end in a consonant, you will add an A. All right, now this breaks a rule. Do you know what rule it breaks? This breaks rule number 2. If it ends in a consonant, you just add ES. This breaks rule number 2, okay? But only for nationality. Let me highlight my rule número 4. Regla número 4. All right, nationality. So adjectives of a nationality that end in a consonant, consonant, do add an A. Boo, yeah. Here's an example. Let's put our chart up. You guys remember this chart. It's going to be your best friend. Mask, fem, sing, plural, okay? Español. This is somebody from where? If you said Spain, you're right. If you said Venezuela, you're wrong. If you said nothing, you're wrong. So if it's a female that we're speaking of, we're going to say española. If it's a male that we're speaking of, it's more than one, it ends in a consonant, what do? Españoles. And then for women, we are going to say españolas. Aha. Oh my gosh. Almost out of time. Regla número 5. Adjective position. When describing something with an adjective, the adjective, let's erase this because I don't like the way it's worded. We're going to say you put your noun before your adjective. Remember that cool little phrase I taught you guys? NBA. In English, we say white house. In Spanish, if the noun comes before the adjective, you would say house white. Think of it this way. Somebody was on their deathbed and they were just about to kick the bucket and they wanted to tell you where they left all their riches. Would you rather them say, it's in the white, and then die? Or would you rather them say, it's in the house, and then die? I would rather hear the noun first and then the adjective, right? So how many things in the house are going to be white? A gabillion, a gajillion. How many houses? This is true, but still, so you can narrow it down more if you have the noun than if you have the adjective. Just think about that. Helps me to remember it. The rest of these rules we are going to do in the next segment. Let's do a quick recap. Regla número uno was what? Regla número uno was O to A. That's right. If the adjective ended in O, change the O to A if you want to do feminine. And in order to, well, that's not going to erase, okay? You change the O to A to do feminine, and in order to make it plural, you add S. Regla número dos was the consonant doesn't change. If it ends in a consonant, it does not change to match gender, okay? Remember my example about azul, azules, azul, azules. That was masculine, feminine, singular, and plural. Mixed group, macho leads. Regla número tres. If it is a mixed group, if there are women and men, everything will be masculine. That makes things easier. Regla número cuatro. Add A for feminine nationalities, okay? If the nationality is feminine, you're going to add A. Regla número cinco. Talk about the place of the noun. Noun B for adjective. Noun B for adjective. N, B, A. All right, that's a basketball going into a hoop of sorts. Okay, donkey. Remember it. Remember it. Mac G is out. See you on the flip.